Welcome to my mommy's podcast.
This podcast is brought to you by SteadyMD. I've been using this company for the past year and I love them. Here's how it works. Instead of having a primary doctor that you have to make an appointment to see, wait for hours in the office to visit, you can now have your doctor available whenever you need him or her through your phone. SteadyMD has a staff of doctors who are available via call, text, or video chat whenever you need them, so they respond quickly and they already know your medical history. You get paired with a single doctor so you can work with them as a long-term partner for your health. They're well-versed in lab testing, preventative health, and functional medicine, and they are great for those random, obscure, off-hours medical questions so you don't have to run to urgent care. You can check them out and see if they are right for you by visiting steadymd.com/WM. That's SteadyMD.com/WM. They do have limited spots available, so I'd check them out quickly if you're interested. This episode is brought to you by Crunchy Betty. It's summer, and where I am, it is super hot and humid. I've always made my own deodorant, and I still think that's an amazing option. It works well, but lately I've been so busy that I've been turning to a pre-made natural deodorant, and I am loving it. It's called Kokomo Cream, and it smells like a tropical vacation. Think coconut and lime in paradise. And it works incredibly well. My husband uses it too. We both love the scent, and we love how fresh we stay all day. My favorite part, it's from a small family business, and you can only find it right now on Etsy. So you can find it by going to etsy.com/shop/Crunchy Betty. Again, etsy.com/shop/Crunchy Betty. Hi, and welcome to the Healthy Moms Podcast. I'm Katie from wellnessmama.com, and today's episode is going to be helpful to any of you looking to have a more natural environment in your home, because I'm here with an expert on that who's going to really enlighten us. Marilee Nelson is the founder of The House Doctors, a consulting firm dedicated to cleaner, more natural homes. Also co-founder of Branch Basics, which is a natural cleaner that I love and use in my own home. She's also a medicinal cook, a board-certified nutritionist, a certified Bau-biologist, which is a building biologist, a certified Bau-biology inspector, a building material specialist for healthy homes. She's on the advisory board of Documenting Hope, and she has spent nearly 30 years as a dietary and environmental consultant for clients across the country who are chemically sensitive, chronically ill, or who are just plain smart and want to have a natural home. Marilee, welcome and thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to talk, and it's a privilege to talk with you and your listeners. And I just want to say with all my heart, if there's anyone out there listening who has a child that has any type of difficulty, a learning difficulty, they're irritable, unmanageable, they're whatever you want to say, they're just not quite right. Or if there's someone out there that can't get pregnant, someone who doesn't feel quite right, someone with chronic illness that they haven't been able to kick over and get healthy, or even anyone in the family that's not just exuberantly healthy, that if they have ears to hear what I have to say, that they'll listen and consider this information.
Awesome. And I know that it is very much a passion project for you and that you're very passionate because of your own story. So I think I'd love to start there. Can you take us through your own journey to health through diet and lifestyle, and also how you helped your son?
Sure. So to start, sometimes we have something that happens to us that has the capacity to wake us up to important truths that are maybe hidden, misunderstood, or not well understood. And maybe things that are so essential that can even make a significant difference in our lives and others' lives, but even on the surface, they don't seem significant enough, and they're easy to pass by. And so the experience that my family has had, several experiences, have really turned those events into what I would call blessings. And I would hope that our story inspires you and motivates you, and more than that, empowers you so you can take more charge of your family's health and get a fresh perspective here that cuts really deep into the current healthcare crisis we have in this country. Because every single day, people are searching the internet because they're on a quest to learn how to be healthy, to create a healthy diet, find safe products, and create a healthy home. And you're listening to a podcast right now for some reason, and we're all blessed to have this access. But so many people get overwhelmed with all the information. They throw up their hands. They don't know what to do. So I'm going to frame the unfolding of my family's journey to health with the fact that all of us, we all can be completely in the dark about something that's impacting us. And we don't even have a clue that it makes a difference in our life. So I'd like you to listen with intention, with a few points in mind. The first is that a change in thought changes everything. And I put that first because how you think, what your perspective is of a situation governs the outcome. And the second is sometimes when you think you really know something, you really don't. And that ignorance may be the foundation of continued bondage and suffering. So be ready to let go of your established focus or your established habits if it's necessary. Maybe to have the courage to go against the norm because knowledge is power and true understanding is going to bring liberty and freedom. And my story shows that. And the last thing I want you just to zero in is that our natural healing process has been hijacked by the established norms of the day, the food we eat, the products we buy, and our building materials. They've all been corrupted, and logically, we wouldn't even be having this conversation if we were eating real food, using safe products, and building our homes with safe materials. But my story illustrates that ignorance is not bliss and that unlocking the truth can transform your life. And I want to say that I can look back and I did just about everything you can do to create health issues and made every mistake you can imagine. And so this talk is not about fear, frustration, or being overwhelmed. It's about having a light open up and being empowered with information. So because my case and my son's case are so extreme, don't get bogged down in that, because there were things that I would have missed had I not had to go through such extremes. And these solutions uncovered principles that reveal very doable, proactive, preventative steps that we can all take to guard our family's health. So with all that said, I can say that from my earliest memories, I was hungry. Not just hungry, but ravenous, even after eating. I was never satisfied. My mother called me her human garbage disposal. We never had leftovers. It was a family joke. And after I'd eat, I was thinking about food and the ice cream in the freezer and the cookies in the pantry. I was a sugarholic to the max. And when I got older, my mother would give me money to go shopping for clothes. Well, I'd go out and eat. I was a bottomless pit, literally, obsessed with food. So, at the same time, I was just as hungry for information. I loved science. I was captivated. By the time I was in high school, my friends had a special name for me. It was Dr. Chegley, and my parents bought me a car and put the license plate on the car, and it said Dr. Chegg. So I was already studying medical books so I could help out the doctors figure out what the heck was wrong with me, and also help my mother because she had cancer. So when I got to college, I decided to go pre-med, and I'd go get my books for the semester, and I'd be so excited that I was going to be able to learn everything in the books. I just wanted to gobble it up and put it in my head. And my teachers would give me a key to the lab on Saturdays. I'd go by myself and just look through microscopes, and I'd be transported in ecstasy by what I was seeing. So let that set the stage for what we're going to call the opportunities I've had. My mother was in labor with me for 48 hours. I was bottle fed and sickly from the get-go. My father was a chain smoker. My mother was an amazing Southern cook to the ultimate, and she hated bugs so much. We always had the can of Raid ready and available along with regular extermination. Well, I had severe allergies. I had snot running down my face all the time. I had asthmatic bronchitis. I had excruciating menstrual cramps later, and I had a low-grade fever that would spike up to about 105 and 106 degrees about every 6 weeks. And that went up through my early 20s. And the doctors called it a fever of unknown origin. They didn't know where it was coming from or what it was, so I was constantly on antibiotic after antibiotic. And I remember in the 6th grade, I was spending the night with a friend, and her grandmother came in, and she asked us point blank if we had had our bowel movement that day. She was standing there with this stuff called Dulcolax in her hand. Well, I might as well have been struck with lightning. I was so shocked. First of all, that she would even mention that. I mean, what was this crazy woman asking? That subject never came up before in conversation at my house, that there should be any concern about whether or not anyone had a bowel movement. Well, I proudly told the grandmother, no, I haven't, and I don't know when the last time I had one, maybe 2 weeks ago. So I had a tremendous constipation problem. I was living in ignorance, and I think I was a bit arrogant. I continued in this darkness for years, and a month after I married my husband, we were on a weekend trip with some friends on a golf course, which is significant, when suddenly my high spiking fever came over me, and I was so weak that I collapsed, and I was taken to a very small country hospital. They packed my head in ice because my fever was over 106. But the highlight of the day was when this very young woman doctor came in with several other doctors, and she told me proudly that she had figured out just exactly what was wrong with me. I mean, after all these years, I'd seen so many doctors and no doctor had a clue. I had given her my history, so I was on the edge of my bed, so excited that I was finally going to know what was wrong. And then she said with full assurance, well, you have tertiary syphilis. Well, I looked at my husband and he looked at me, and I knew all about syphilis because I'd studied it in high school like everybody did, I think. And I laughed, and I told her, for one thing, that I'd just gotten married and I never had had sex before a month ago, so it couldn't be tertiary syphilis. And with that, she looked around at the other team of doctors there, and they said, you need to see this group of doctors in Houston, and they'll surely figure this out. So that's where I was at age 23. I'd had many bizarre diagnoses, by the way, and that was one of the most. But I was in the dark. I was still thinking the medical world had all the answers, and I was without a clue as to the real reason why I was so sick and weak, and that it took every bit of strength that I could muster to lift my hands to my mouth. I literally willed myself to function. So I was very excited at this time because I was going to have exploratory surgery. Literally, I felt like I was going to a party or maybe even to my own wedding. I was so excited because I had 11 of the best doctors from the Houston Medical Center on my case, and I knew for sure they were going to figure out what was wrong with me and fix it. That was my perspective. So after surgery, my internist walked in and said, Marilee, I'm really sorry. You're never going to be able to have children. You have extensive endometriosis. You need to go on dialysis, and you will need to have a kidney transplant. Well, I mean, I don't know what happened to me. Miraculously, instead of being filled with fear, this very small, still voice of truth rose up, and it was awakened in me, and I looked at him and I said with so much respect, because I literally idolized this doctor, I said with respect, I'm just so glad that you are not God. What if in 10, 5, or even a couple of years there is a medical discovery that I wouldn't need a transplant? I can't be subject to the limitations of what the medical world has to offer me at this point in time. I don't want to lose a kidney. I know there's another way. Well, I felt it in my heart, a deep calm, no fear or doubt, just an absolute trust